Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name is Penny and I live in Central Illinois, and it is Wednesday, June 30th. It's cold outside, guys. It is 18 below in Pekin, Illinois, and I have taken the day off as a vacation day from work because it's just too doggone cold to drive into work and have to worry about, something going wrong. I live about a half hour from work, and I'm getting a little wussy in my in my age, and I have the time, so I took today off, and I am going to spend today, after I get done podcasting, I am going to spend the day doing a little bit of laundry. I'm going to do some knitting, and I'm going to catch up on some super cool podcasts that everybody has been putting up on YouTube this last couple of days. So I have lots to keep me busy while I'm home. To put it in perspective, yes, it's negative 18 here today, but in our hopeful retirement summer home area in Nevis, Minnesota, this morning it is 38 below. And I know for you people in Chicagoland and above, and even over where my kids live, it is much colder. And so I hope that you are all staying warm today and staying inside and having some fun knitting. So what's been happening lately? I planned to podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was going to be a different kind of podcast. It was going to be a podcast talking about my upcoming trip to Madison, which would have happened last weekend, to Sun Valley Fibers January Thaw. What happened was, about 10 days before that, I developed some sort of virus that laid me out for a week from work. I ended up having to go to the doctor, and so I still have some residual stuff going on, but I feel so much better. And I really didn't get to feeling better till maybe like this past weekend, where we had some more snow, and so I just stayed in and kind of I'm babying myself. We are hopeful that this weekend we'll be able to go over to Iowa to celebrate our newest granddaughter's baptism, and we haven't done Christmas with them yet, so I am staying away from people to not catch anything until I get over there. So that is what has been happening here, and on the good side, it looks like this weekend here in Central Illinois, it's going to be 50 degrees on Saturday. So hopefully when we come home on Sunday, some of this snow will be gone, and some of the ice. There's terrible ice on the side streets. It's just like a skating rink, so you have to be very vigilant and careful while walking out anywhere these days. So that's what's happening. That's what's been happening. And just to touch on January Thaw a little bit, I didn't get to go, and I really hated it. But my good friend Jelaine and Pam were bringing me some things back, and I'm just going to show you the yarn that they picked up for me from Sun Valley Fibers. This is Jeanette's Merino Cashmere Nylon. They're 400 yards, and it's called Dreamy. And I had Jelaine pick this skein up for me because last year I got this same colorway and base, and so now I have 800 yards, and I'm going to do something with that now that I have lots of that. So I do appreciate them so much bringing back my stuff. I missed going with them and seeing everybody, and understandably, it was cold up there too. So anyway, thanks guys, appreciate it. Let's talk finished objects. I just have a couple that I want to touch on here because not a whole lot of knitting was being done while I was out. I am plugging away on some things, but now I can talk about the 12 days of knitting MCAL that I did. This is an IROC design, and the gist of this is that starting with December 26th, a new clue was released to us, to the participants, and then for the 12 days after that, there was a new clue released and a new lace pattern. And this was kind of fun. I have to admit, I had a lot of fun with it because it was all different lace patterns, and I picked out some that were favorites of mine that I would maybe use again in other things, but I really loved doing that. Now what happened was I went back to work on January 2nd, so I kind of failed with being able to do every day. but I did kind of finally finish it and get it blocked last weekend, and it's just in time I'll be able to wear it to work. And it's kind of the thought process too was to wear it with something like this with a t-shirt underneath, just peeking out, that would be in the same colors as the turquoise. But this has a lot of potential for wearing, and I'm so glad to be done with that. So that is one of my finished objects. And then my second one that I can show to you now is my Knitmas project that I sent off to Mojave Knitter. I can share that with you now because she received it. And this was an ensemble that I did, and I'll try my best. It was the upstairs, downstairs cowl. And then I did a pair of fingerless mitts and a headband. And what I did is I just kind of sort of incorporated the trellis pattern that is in the cowl into both the mitts and the headband. So that is my finished object, and here's the cowl up close of the trellis pattern. It was really fun to do. I used 3 Irish Girls Springvale DK on it, on all of the pieces, and had just a little bit left over, so in case she needed to shorten up the headband or maybe expand upon it, she would have a little extra yarn for that. So that piece is off, and while we're talking about Knitmas, I received my package on Saturday when it was kind of snowy, and my partner, who through on the Loop and About group on Ravelry, my partner was Annetta from Kentucky, and she sent me the coolest package. It was so much fun. I waited, the mailman came up, and I knew that she was waiting for it to be delivered because we keep in contact, a group of us, and I knew that, and I'm like, well, I wonder, you know how I didn't know who it was. So I wondered, well, is it going to be me? And when he pulled up and he had this box and he kind of slid it across the porch, I'm like, it has to be me. And so it was so fun to open that package that day from Annetta, and I got a lot of cool things. And she knows that I love Snoopy, and some of the things were wrapped up in here. I'm not going to show you everything that I got, but one of the things she did is all the little packages were all wrapped in Peanuts paper, and it was so much fun to open each and every one of those. She sent me some coffee beans. I got a hand lotion. I got 2 dessert coffees, which I love, for my Keurig. I got a spare skein of yarn. This is a Mad Tosh and DK. This is called Stargazing. Look at those colors in that. That was in my Knitmas box. Looks, there's a green, and isn't that just beautiful? So stay tuned for what that's going to be. That was in the box. And then she made these 2 microwave bowl holders for me. And these are so super cool. Look at that. I got 2 of those, and you put your bowl in here in the microwave, and so then when you pull it out after it's done, then you pull it out, the bowl out of the microwave like this, and you don't burn your hands. And that is so cool. So I got 2 of those. And then I got this super cool Notion pouch. Isn't that neat? And I'm going to get a lot of use out of that. And I think what I might do is, I have one in my purse, but I think I'll put my scissors and my spare needle and some stitch markers, and then I'll put that in my purse. So isn't that cool? And then the gist of Knitmas is that we each get a secret partner back in October, and then we are tasked with knitting something for them and having it in the mail by February 1st. So it's really, I didn't start mine until January because I just didn't have time, but that's the thought is you're probably knitting for a lot of people at Christmas time, and so it's the lull after that so that you can knit for somebody else and something fun. And so my knit that I received from Annetta is this shawl, and this was in one of my favorites. This is a Josh Ricks pattern. It's called Bad Nut, And I've already worn it to work. It doubles as keeping me warm in these cold days. It has a super cool edging on it and some great colors. And I'm going to get so much use out of this. So that was my Knitmas that I received, and thank you, Annetta. It is scrumptious. I really truly love it, and I will get a lot of use of it. I totally will. So thank you, and it was so much fun to participate, and I'm hoping that my Knitmas partner liked her pieces as well. So that is a couple of things I want to talk about, and then I'm going to move into books and bags. This was a little bit different for you all because I have, other than my yarn that came from my Knitmas and my yarn that they picked up at Sun Valley Fiber as part of the goodie bag for me, I have received so far no books, no bags, no yarn in the mail. But I still wanted to do a books and bags session because I did want to talk just briefly about a couple of things. And in the books, about a month ago I received this. I bought this, and it's not a knitting related, but it goes back to my Knit and Fit for 2019, and it is from Weight Watchers. And I know that I can use my app on my phone and get a lot of ideas for points and search for points. But for me, sometimes I just like to have a book that I can just look at. And in the case of this one, I can note shopping, and the Weight Watchers program now has all went to freestyle. In the past, there's been 2 where you could do freestyle and the not freestyle, and now this year everything's freestyle. And so I wanted to get this book because then what I wanted to do is really to go to the shopping thing and find some ideas for low point snacks or drinks or things that weren't, and they'll say, oh my gosh, it's that many points, I'm not buying that, to give me a little bit of an idea of what to shop with so that I can have better choices for my meals. And then also on the dining out section, if perchance I'm planning to eat out at lunch or at night or catch something on the way to knitting, then I have a chance to go in by a restaurant and say, oh, that salad that I usually get Panera's, it's how many points? Do I have that many points left in the day? And so I'm using this as a pre-planning tool to make Weight Watchers Freestyle work for me. Now, in keeping with that, this morning I weighed in, and I am pleased to announce that I have lost 5.7 pounds since last we spoke. Now, I have to preface that. I gained, and now I'm back below what I had lost. So I'm pretty pleased with that weight loss, and I hope to continue with that on to, for me, a healthier lifestyle. May not be for everybody, and I totally do believe that you need to be comfortable in the skin you're in. And whereas I know that if I lose weight, I'm still going to have the flab, I'm still going to have some of the other things, and I'm okay with that. And I'm the only one that has to be okay with that. So that's my little books and bags for today. And now we're going to we're going to go on to my sweater project for 2019. I just want to talk a little about the sweaters that I am planning, that I have in sight, that I really want to be knitting on soon. I have done some swatches in the last few weeks. I have, first up, I have swatched for my Storm Mountain, and I've talked about this one before. This is part of a Pinterest picture that I found that somebody had put together, that I'm kind of duplicating the look. And so I'm going to be doing Storm Mountain, and I've talked about that before, out of Sun Valley, out of Carol Sunday Yarns. And I have done my swatch, so I now know what gauge I will work on, what needle that I will do. And one of the things, I don't know if you can see quite well, but when I'm doing a gauge swatch, because I'm such a loose knitter, I do a 40 stitch wide swatch. I put on each side, I put 5 and 5 garter stitches, and then in between I'll do stockinette or whatever the pattern calls for. And then I will knit for a little while, and then I will make purl bumps for each number of the needle size that I am using for the gauge swatch down below. So if this one has 6 bumps, I did a size 6 and down below. And then I will go up, and if I change to this one, I went down to like a 5, and then I'll put the 5 bumps and below. And then I will finish up the top and the bottom both with garters, so that it will not, if it's in stockinette, so it will not roll, and I will have a clear area in the 30 stitches here to measure my gauge. And then what I do is I take it into my sink, dunk it, leave it sit for like a half hour-ish, wring it out, and then I throw it on a towel in our spare room in front of the heater, and then I let it dry till it goes. And then I can do a more accurate measurement on my gauge as to what I need to be. Now, again, my friend Linda says gauge lies. And sometimes it does for me, and I have to be cognizant as I am knitting on a sweater, and I'll talk about that on the one I'm knitting on now. I have to be cognizant of that as I'm knitting along, and to check my gauge periodically, even though it has not been blocked, but to see what is happening. And I do put on my notes of my pattern. In the case of the Weekender, I put on the notes of my pattern what it was before unblocked and what it was after it blocked. That way I have a better idea of the amount that I gained or lost. And so I did a swatch for the Weekender, which I'm really wanting to do. This particular one I did in the round because I know that the sweater itself is knit in the round at some point past the join at the bottom, the hem treatment. And so I know that I knit looser or tighter in the round, and so I want an in the round measurement. And this particular one, there are fast ways of doing a swatch in the round where you carry the yarn behind and you have all these floats in the back. This one I was okay with just casting on enough stitches to go around a 16-inch needle, and then I just did the swatch with what I thought I would like. I did not change needles on it. I dunked it in the water, and now I know this is the feel that I want my sweater to have. So I will adapt my pattern when I go to do the Weekender to fit, either by changing the size or making calculations so that it will fit me. And I know that this is what I want. This is the yarn I wanted. And this one I did on a size 7. And when I was knitting it, I was glad that I was on a size 7 on this, because then I realized no matter how loose I was, I knew that I did not want to go down to anything less than a 7. I knew that if I had to go to a 6 on this, my hands would not like it. So I am going to accommodate the gauge to use the fabric that I have. So I am pleased with that. So that is one of the sweaters that is on my sweater project. I am dying to cast these things on, but I'm not yet. And then my third one that is so close to wanting to be cast on as well is Avalanche. This is going to be a little group project that some friends of mine that we're going to do, and I totally want to cast on that, but I've not done my gauge swatch. So I think this afternoon I'm going to put this on the gauge, start the gauge swatch on it, and then so I can get it dunked, and then so maybe next week I'll be able to cast on that. Well, actually we're not starting till March 1st, but some of us are, some of us aren't. But anyway, if I get a wild thought, then at least will have my gauge swatch. I do have the yarn that I'm going to be using. It's from Stash, and I'm pleased about that as well. And the last sweater that is on the needles is my Ground Pepper, and I am on color 3 now. This is part of the Zombie Knipocalypse knit along that we're doing at contest. I am on hashtag Team Bodhi. And for January and February, the theme is to twin with someone. So and when you twin with someone, you knit the same project that they knit. And then you post the finished projects, and you get, not only do you get points for the amount of yardage you used, but you get double bonus points for twinning. And in my case, I will get double, and my twin will get double points for using a ZK vendor yarn. And the yarn that I am using is from Leading Men Fiber Arts. It's a kit that I picked up last year, and it's in the turquoise. And you can see how that colors, the colors are changing. There are 5 skeins that have all deeper shades as you go down, or more shades of the turquoise. So I'm really pleased with that, but I have to tell you this, it's all stockinette from here on down, and it's kind of boring. So you need something to keep your interest as well. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about this with Gage is I got, when I cast on, when Gage, two things, when Gage lies, I'm fine with the way it's going to fit at the neck. But as I progressed, I noticed that my stitches per inch were not, I needed more. And so what I did, at the point where I start to go out in the hip, I switched up and I changed to 2 needle sizes larger. So that way I will get a little bit of shaping just done by changing up the needle size, but not having to add any more extra stitches with that. And that is how I quite often do after the waist on my sweaters, because I come in, I have the bust measurement out here, and then my waist comes in significantly. And so then I usually about right here will switch up, either adding more stitches if needed, but I like to maybe just go up 2 or 3 sizes of a needle if it doesn't mess too much with the texture of what I've got. So then I will come out here and stay and keep on those larger stitches until I come down to the ribbing, and then I will do what I need to do for that. So that is one of the tips that I do for my sweaters, because of the because I have this pear-shaped figure, and I need to accommodate for that. So anyway, that's my ground pepper. Debbie and I are twinning, and it has to be done by the end of February, and this will be my project for going over to Iowa in the car and maybe sitting around at night. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. This is an interesting thing I just wanted to share with you. If you're like me, you have a lot, well, I collect, maybe you're not like me, but I collect Progress Keepers. And the thing is, a lot of them have these lobster claw clasps on them. And for me, I can put that on as a Progress Keeper in my knit, but I think if it's a heavy charm on the end, as my macaron is, it pulls the stitch, and I didn't like the way it was pulling the stitch. So I went to my box of stitch markers, and I found one of these metal stitch markers, and now I can hook my lobster claw clasp onto it, and now it's a cute stitch marker, and I really do like these. And you could do that with any kind of stitch marker. I just thought that was kind of super cool. So now my macaron is on there as my beginning of the row, and I just totally thought that was super cool. And I do like those little metal stitch markers anyway. So that's kind of a little tip for today for you. Let's see, what's next? I've got a baby blanket I need to start, but I am not starting that until after the weekend. I want to work some more on my ground peppers, see how far I can get it, and maybe get to those sleeves and get it done before the February deadline, because I am anxious. I am so excited to be knitting on sweaters right now. And I think it's going to be super fun. I'm really stoked about that. So I want to get doing that. I want to share a couple of things that I've watched recently, because I've had a lot of time sitting around on TV watching, but somehow I found The Great British Baking Show, the beginning. And I thought that I have watched all of the seasons of that, but I did not remember that one. And it was a one that popped up on Netflix while I was out sick. And I'm like, what is that? So I started watching it. Super cool. I am a fan of the Great British Baking Show. I watch them all. But the two things I want to tell you about that's so cool is, number one of the contestants from Britain was a knitter. They talked about how in her spare time when she wasn't baking, she went back home and knitted, and they showed her knitting. And I thought, wow, super cool, way back when, in the beginning of the British Baking Show. The other thing, one of the guys was from Shetland, and he wore, for many of the first episodes, Shetland vests that you know were Fair Isle. And I thought, wow, my knitting is now on the baking shows. And for those who know me, I don't bake, but I love to eat baked goods. And so it was interesting. So something you might want to check out. And then for podcasts, I was watching a vlog on YouTube while I was waiting for the sun to be ready to shine. Ruby Moss Cottage is a knitting podcast, and she is from the South. You need to give her a watch. She is so much fun, and I love her voice. I love the things she's knitting. Today, her and her sister are out in front of a yurt where they had a sisters' weekend, and it is just so much fun. And that podcast is on YouTube, and it's called Ruby Moss Cottage. You just have to check it out. She doesn't podcast. I wouldn't say she podcasts every 2 weeks or every week, but super fun. You will enjoy the time you spend with her. So I hope you will check that out as well. And then just wanted to say to you, I am Penny J on Ravelry. I am PJ Knits on Instagram. The Ravelry group is PJ Knits. I hope that you will follow me on any of those platforms. I hope that if you are new, you will subscribe and come back, tell your friends, comment below, and join the PJ Knits Ravelry group. We're talking about sweater knits for this My Sweater Project, MSP 2019 on Ravelry. And I'd love to get your thoughts. I'd love for you to share with us what you're knitting. Give us some new ideas for sweaters. And when you're done with your sweaters, post them in the group, show a picture of them on you so we can see them, and maybe add some more things to our queue. On both my blog and on Ravelry, the Ravelry group, periodically I am going to share a little quote that I put into my journal, because I kind of gravitate towards those things. And some of it's knitting, some of it's ready to wear, some of it's fashion, some of it's, a thought for life, I suppose. But I wanted to share one of them with you today. And this particular quote comes from Gianni Versace. Don't be into trends. Don't make fashion own you, but you decide what you are, what you want to express by the way you dress and the way you live. And that's from Gianni Versace. So, thank you again for dropping in. Stay warm wherever you're at. Stay cool if you're in Florida. Enjoy it. We're all jealous of it. And have a great couple of weeks. I'll see you soon. And until then, knit on with confidence and hope. Thanks. Bye-bye.